Welcome to Spare Parts, a racing podcast. Here to talk all things motorsports are your hosts Stephen Clary and Sean Cavarella.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Spare Parts. I'm your host Sean.
I'm Steven.
Steven, do you know what this is?
Our 30th episode?
Yes. But this is also the first episode we are doing that are putting on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So
That's, we'll see how this goes.
yeah, we're probably going to get more people to yell at us and tell us how wrong we are.
Or just more bots.
Yeah, maybe. If this is your first time listening, you can find our previous episodes in the description down below. And we hope you enjoy as we talk about all things motorsports going forward.
Which, speaking of, we have a lot to go through today.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a while since we actually did an episode, even though it's been like a week.
It's only been a week.
So much has happened. So much happened immediately after we stopped recording last time, which immediately made that outdated, but we'll get back to that later.
It's the typical podcaster curse. As soon as you hit upload or hit stop record,
It literally was like an hour
15
later.
minutes later. Yep.
Oh,
Well, I'm gonna go. Well, I gotta go. I gotta go do something else. That was a good episode. Okay. See you next week. See you next week. And 5 breaking stories.
such a pain in the ass.
Yep.
Alas,
What are you gonna do?
we're going to talk about it anyway and just make it delayed and hope to remember. You know how it is.
Exactly.
So
Where do you want to start?
I want to start with probably the most exciting thing of the week.
Which was
The 70th anniversary Grand Prix.
fantastic. Where do you want to start with that? Other than thank God it was not Mercedes.
I don't know. Start with Red Bull, I guess. Start with Max.
Oh,
Didn't want to drive like a grandma.
no. That was, 1, a fantastic drive from Max. 2, I was very happy to see them get away from the strategist calling the race, like it's purely the strategist calling the race, and a driver taking it into his own hands and saying, no, I don't like your decision. I'm doing what I want.
Yeah, for sure. He decided that, no, I'm not going to back off. This is the best chance I'm going to get to actually fight them. Maybe all year, seeing how this season's gone. And he went for it. And he basically told the strategist to shove it. And it paid off. And
yeah,
that's what you want to
worked.
see.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to see the drivers making the calls. You don't want them to just be another part in the car being dictated by the pit lane.
Yeah, well, and that's why we race the races and don't just say, well, here's the optimal strategy based on what the computer tells us, because it sort of worked out that way for Mercedes as well. If it was just based on how, and this goes for any sport, if it's just based on how a computer says it'll happen, it's not going to be very fun.
Yeah. What was it? It didn't the NHL simulation for the Stanley Cup have Pittsburgh and Edmonton winning and both got knocked out?
Wrong.
Yeah, computers can't dictate the future.
Nope.
They can do their best. But, you can't predict the Mercedes can't fucking do a lap on tires without dying.
Yep. You still got to play the game, race the race, whatever you want to throw in there.
You still got to show up on game day, basically.
Exactly. Which
And-
the Leafs didn't do.
Yeah, well, you suck. So do they.
Yes. Yes.
But no, who didn't show up either
Anywho.
was Mercedes and their tires.
No, yeah. They're,
But they were the only ones. The only ones that struggled.
yeah, everybody else sort of not figured it out, but
Were able to, I
Yeah.
guess, manage.
yeah, because it wasn't like everybody, or not everybody went to a 2-stop strategy, but they had
Some
a
people
2-stopper,
made the one stopper work.
Yeah, Charles made it work on and came fourth, and that was a great call from him and a great drive from him. But yeah, Mercedes had 2-stop and complained and struggled the entire time.
Yeah. Did Hamilton do a 2 or a 3 stop? I don't remember.
I think it was only 2. Yeah, it was only 2 because
Wait, it was a late second.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
so
okay.
the whole thing. Well, actually, no, because he undercut Bottas, I think, right? Yeah. Yeah, because he pit first, or sorry, in the first round they give Bottas the preferential strategy.
Yes.
But hang on, I want to
Great content.
exactly. You can tell we're prepared if you're listening for the first time.
What is being prepared?
Never. You know what? The amount of times this week
No,
I've
yeah, he
listened to a
did.
podcast.
He pit second or twice. The second one was the late one. He tried to go as long as he could, and when they
Okay.
pit him, then he was able to charge through both Leclerc and Bottas back into second.
Yes, that's what it was.
So he did do a two-stop. It just was not a good two-stop.
Mm-hmm. But what was it? Valtteri got the preferential treatment on, I guess technically both times, but like with the computer thing, just because it's optimal doesn't mean it's going to work.
Did he get the preferential treatment, really?
Undercut is technically the preferential treatment.
Okay, technically, yeah, but I still think that they didn't even give him the other option. So if he's not given the option, is it really preferential?
No, I guess not. And he was critical after the race of the decision. So maybe in his mind it was I don't agree with this idea, but I'll come in and do it anyways. So he basically did the opposite of what Max did and basically didn't and listened to his strategist.
Yeah. I guess Hamilton also was able to say, no, I'm going to do it my way versus just blindly listening to the strategist. So that kind of pays off in his favor in the end.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But
yeah. Valtteri didn't sound too happy after the race. But
if it's in your own hands, though, to make the call to either stay out or to not, right? Like, if you're given the option to pit or you're told to pit and you say, no, I'm good,
mm-hmm.
That's on the driver. But if the driver goes, yeah, sure, I'm going to pit, then it's on the team? Like, shouldn't the onus always just be on the driver? If the driver doesn't feel like he should pit, then it's his fault for pitting when he just listened to the team. It's not the team's fault. It's you're in the car. The guy that knows what's happening best with the car is the guy in it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's the whole reason Max made his call was, I don't care what you think my tire or what your what the computer shows. My tires are fine. They don't feel like they're losing anything right now, even though you say they are.
And I think also like Red Bull was worried comparing like to Mercedes what was happening with them because their tires were falling away.
Mm-hmm.
But Max is like, nah, I'm good.
But as with last race, and I guess Red Bull may have learned a little bit, their tire degradation is better managed than Mercedes.
Yeah, but also I guess coming off the last race, they were a little more, I feel, anxious because of when the tires did blow last race, there was no warning of it.
Mm-hmm. And they were on softer compounds this week.
Yeah.
So the fear and anxiety would definitely be there, that of a repeat action. So
can we have more races with softer compounds like this?
And that's been a debate, I think, on Twitter, on Reddit. Can we use the softer compounds for everything and make a two-stop race? Just because it leads to, it makes you have to do another stop, and that can lead to more mistakes. That can lead to teams using different strategies. If you keep the two tire use strategy, but you have to take two pit stops, so you're going to run either all three compounds, or you can run two of the same compound on two separate stints, and then it depends on what your plan or how your plan fits into the race and the evolution of the track, and also what your competitors are doing.
And also possible safety cars.
Yeah, whereas right now, everybody's sort of running a similar strategy, right? Like what's one of the things we've been sort of, or maybe not both of us. I know I've for sure said it during NASCAR races this year, is when with the stage racing, the pit windows, if the pit window fits the stage, everybody's racing at the same
Strategy.
pace and racing the same strategy. It's not as entertaining because you don't see, or you'll sometimes see the call to be made where it's like, we're at the back of the pack anyways. We're not going to get any stage points. We'll just coming in pit now, but you're pitting like 2 laps earlier. It is a strategy call to get out in front, but usually there's not. Like Pocono was a fun race, I think, for NASCAR because it didn't fit into the strategy, and you saw people going. The guys at the front have to make a decision: do I want to take the stage points now, or do I want to try and win this thing at the end? And some guys said, no, I'm going to try and win this thing at the end. I want to be up at the front.
No, that's fair. But I want to make one argument that's for everyone being on the same strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Would it not mean that if everyone's racing the same strategy and you can't win by being clever with it, that it truly comes down to who's built the best car and who is the best driver?
Yes and no, because I feel like one of those we already know the answer to, and it's that Mercedes has built the best car.
I mean, I don't believe it. I'm just arguing for the sake of arguing.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. If this was a more of a spec series, sure, but or if not even that, if Ferrari and Red Bull were closer in competition, like if this was 5 years ago where they were a little bit closer, you could make that argument and people could see it and believe it. This year, as Mercedes has once again pulled further and further away, it's sort of like, well, Mercedes clearly has the best car. It comes down, it has to be some factor where that won't happen every race, right? Like the tires are not going to fall off like this every single race.
Yeah, and it is a team sport, right?
Yeah, and and also Mercedes has also built a car that can typically last the entire, or make the one stoppers almost everywhere. So I'd say what's happened at Silverstone has been a bit of an anomaly versus it being a trend. But who knows? Maybe if F1 see that what happened this weekend and they say, you know what, that was more entertaining than what we could have hoped for. We're going to keep running the softer compounds and sort of force a little bit of parity out of this because it could possibly hurt Mercedes. Then great. But I think at that point as well, if you're going to force 2 stoppers, you're just going to have Mercedes run away with it in the fact that they can just go, okay, if we're just going to run 2 stoppers, we're going to run hard, medium, and just push the hell out of the car instead.
No, that's very true. And one thing I did love about the softer tires for this race, because that really was, I guess, the headlines of this race and why it became so unique so far this season, being a 2-stopper. It really went to show, I guess, in regards like team strategy, people were allowed to push at different times and other people had to conserve.
Mm-hmm.
So it created a very interesting, I would say, race dynamic where, Leclerc kind of putted around and still got his way into 4th, making a 1-stop, but just saving the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes push really early, then have to conserve at the end of their stint, versus Verstappen, who conserves at the beginning, pushes towards the end. And then at the end of the race, after Hamilton needed to pit because he wasn't going to win it, his tires were probably going to blow, he was allowed to push like hell at the end and try to get back up. And I think that was exciting too, to actually watch drivers have to push the car versus nurse the car around just to save tires.
Yeah, well, that's been one of the main criticisms with the
current tires.
Yeah. Well, and also just when you've taken out the multiple rules to get it down to the 1-stopper and the pit stop in one-stop pit stop strategy on almost every single race, is that you're going to get these more conservative strategies. You're not going to get guys pushing the car because, like look at if you look at something like, I guess the closest equivalency would be IndyCar, where there is no fuel or no fuel limit. You can add as much fuel as you want if you want to fuel.
There just is refueling?
Yeah. Where, like, if you want to just have the engine run on high, risk blowing out the engine, but you're going to be going as fast as you can and just ripping around and burning through fuel every time, go ahead if you want to. That's your prerogative and your strategy. Whereas here, everybody's sort of forced into that more conservative way because it just makes the most sense. But it also creates for a little bit more boring racing because you can't always be cranking it up to try and pass guys. You can't crank up the engine mode because if you crank it up for a lap trying to get around, you're instantly throwing the engine back down afterwards because the fueling is to like the milliliter, right? So
yeah, and they usually underfuel the cars anyway, so they have to save from the start.
yeah, like you're running a conservative engine mode a majority of the time, but to make up for it, you have DRS and the ERS, which doesn't necessarily burn more fuel. It just helps the car go a little bit quicker, right?
Yeah,
so,
it doesn't necessarily help save it either, though.
No, but
like it's just another component of the power units, right?
It is, but again, if you have someone like, so you have Leclerc who's trying to make or stretch the one stop, and he's running a more conservative strategy, he has to make that decision if Bottas and Hamilton are doing the two stopper and then running a higher engine mode. And that's what we saw on the weekend, and that was a much more entertaining race, I think, than watching a couple guys be conservative and just try and outlast each other.
Yeah. The varied strategy is what made the race way better than I think some of the other ones have been this year.
Mm-hmm.
And varied strategy is probably the most important thing, and just in creating variables for fans to get engaged in the race and to actually question and to wonder what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm.
But like I swear, like there's only one thing that's like guaranteed now in an F1 race,
which is
Vettel spinning. Suck it, Ferrari fans.
Vanilla.
Yeah, you and your Ferrari fandom.
Nah, not really.
Oh, you're a fan. You went over this last episode.
I was a fan growing up, is what I said.
Uh-huh. There's a soft spot there.
Yeah, a little bit, but not really.
Yeah, there is. You know it.
Yeah. More of a Max fan now.
Honestly, after the Grandma line, I really like Max.
He's been ever since he came in, he's been fun to watch.
He is fun.
It was a nice little injection of energy into the paddock. Having him there were so many races where you're sitting there shaking your head like, what are you doing trying to make that work, but it's like, you know what, it's good to see some bold overtakes and some checkers or wreckers attitude in F1 again.
Yeah, essentially.
Right?
He's gotten a little less bold.
Yes, he has. And that was sort of bound to happen with some maturity. I mean, when think about back when, or whoever's listening to this, and Sean yourself as well, think about to when you were 18 and you're just like, yeah, I can drive a car by myself now. I'm going to start ripping around.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah, it says Mr. Burnout.
There is no evidence of this ever taking place, so we are not going to talk about it.
We're going to go check your rear tires.
No, tires were fine. It was the rear brakes that were dead.
Oh, either way. But yeah, no, it's a maturity thing, right? Like it's what is now fourth year racing in F1, and he's definitely calmed it down a lot. But you still see that little bit of the little bit of competitive fire, especially with the call that he made on Sunday, being like, no, we're not doing the conservative strategy. We are going for it.
You know, sometimes you gotta risk it for the biscuit, you know?
Exactly.
And I think this has been probably one of the best races so far this year.
Yep, easily. Other than maybe the
first one?
race.
Yeah, 'cause that was wild.
Yeah, and half the cars are tired, which kind of sucks, but it was definitely a very entertaining race. And then we have Spain. Is that this weekend?
Yep.
Right? This weekend? Oh,
yep,
boy.
Spain's up.
Oh, boy. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about that one. It'll be interesting to see. I bet you it's going to be Mercedes, Red Bull.
Yeah, probably. How much you want to bet that Grosjean spins in turn 2?
I bet you $5 it's Vettel, not Grosjean spinning.
Probably. Odds a Ferrari powered car spins it.
Well, that's just guaranteed at this point.
Yeah.
And I was going to say one more thing before we move on to the next topic. Albon, I thought, had a really good race. As much as like he kind of got screwed by strategy, he had the pace. He brought it back up to 5th. His seat cooled a little.
A little bit.
I don't think he's necessarily on the hot seat. Gasly didn't have the best recovery, same kind of strategy. But at least Albon, I thought, pulled that off and had an admirable performance for the Red Bull.
Yeah. He's right where he finished, right where he should be, which is in the top 6. And he got a little help from Racing Point, but it's still a good. It's a result. It was a much needed result for him to get a top 5.
I still hope he gets a podium soon.
Hopefully, I find it'll be tough, but if he can find some form over the next couple races,
not get punted,
Yeah, or not punt somebody else and cause damage to the car.
Fair. If he has one of those 2 podiums that got taken from him before.
Oh, he's looked at in such a different light.
Yeah, like this conversation of him being on the hot seat isn't even one.
No, it's been the fact that he's fallen down multiple times when he's been in a good position.
Through not complete fault of his own.
Not always, no. Lewis likes to stick his elbows out at him, but what are you gonna do? Got to get those points, even though he's
just take out
30
Lewis.
Points. Yeah.
Imagine he just starts taking out Lewis. Just gonna get Red Bull in there.
So what are we gonna? Is AlphaTauri gonna become the team submarine, launching torpedoes at everybody?
Just Kvyat just goes out and just starts taking guys out.
Yep.
That'd be great.
It's the new element. There's only 9 teams on the grid, but there's also one team who's just the what is it from the beaters from?
Yeah, it's like Quidditch. We got some bludgers out there. They're the AlphaTauris. Look out for them.
Yes, that's it. No. It's Team Submarine. They're gonna have bullet bills painted on the side of their cars, with the little fists on the side.
Okay, why does Kvyat's helmet not have a bullet bill on it?
That would be hilarious.
He should embrace that.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on into
What
now?
The most important part of the weekend.
What?
We actually got to see Nico Hülkenberg race again.
Man, I was gonna get into Racing Point as a whole, but fine.
You said moving on, so I thought you said you were moving on from F1.
No, there's moving on into more F1, but like the boring political, behind-the-scenes shit that everyone hates, but also everyone secretly loves because they're all like a 13-year-old girl at heart.
Yes.
Like, you can't tell me, like, being in the F1 paddock, there is so much shit talking of other people behind their back.
Oh, we learned that at Drive to Survive Season 1.
Oh, 100%. Like, it's just, like, schoolyard bullshit out there.
Mm-hmm.
But fine. So, we're going to talk about Racing Point in a second. But yes, Perez was still got the Rona.
Well, he tested negative technically, right? But they were still
I thought he still tested positive. He had no symptoms, but he tested positive.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. So he has to test again. He has to basically wait till he gets a negative test. But with some of these cases I've seen, like, people are having it for weeks, months, and it just sticks with them.
Yeah. Well, and you think about back to we almost had like a Jimmy Johnson scenario where he's out 1 week but back the next week.
Yeah.
If he had tested negative. And it's sort of like, I don't know. Who's to say he just doesn't have a cold?
I think the test tells you he doesn't have a cold, but
Well, false positives and the sniffles could it's like that's a red flag right there. I don't know.
yeah.
So
Like on the
anyways.
on the F1's article, he basically says he is ready to race once allowed. So I still think he has to be tested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's the only way that he can get back in a car.
I don't. I think we'll hear probably, likely tomorrow after this comes up, whether he is in the car or not. I think every single race he's out of the car, it hurts his chances of being with this team next year.
Yeah.
Also, I think it increases Hulkenberg's chance of getting a ride again.
Well, yeah, this is basically a free audition for Hulk, right?
Yeah,
And
pretty much.
And he showed up this week in qualifying third, finishing seventh, which kind of sucks, but okay. Did you see? Did you see? Yeah, no, but did you see the was it the controversy around him having to pit?
Which controversy? The one of people crying on the internet about it, that they're like, "Oh, Stroll just wanted him out of the way."
Yep, that's the one I was referring to.
When Racing Point comes out and be like, no, he had a vibration and needed to pit."
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, let's throw away championship points which we might be losing due to off-track stuff.
Which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, but this is the biggest argument and probably the best argument I've seen against that conspiracy theory is, yeah, let's throw away world championship points.
Okay.
We're fighting for the top of the midfield after being in the middle of the midfield last year.
Back to what I said previously about the tires and the week before. People complain about vibrations, and then all of a sudden, they went pop.
Yep.
So maybe if you're running for a while on tires, if you're feeling the vibration, it's safer just to pit them and keep your spot and maybe only lose one spot in the championship points versus him wrecking out and getting no points.
Yep.
They were docked 15 points. They need all the points they can get now.
Yep. For sure.
Speaking of docked 15 points, that was part of the resolution that came down when Racing Point was found that they did break the rules.
Allegedly.
No, they broke the rules. They broke the sporting regulations, not the technical regulations. And it all had to do with the rear brake ducts, not the front.
Yeah.
Did you read much into the ruling?
A little bit. But it was basically how they're extremely similar, right? And
so the issue is their front brake ducts were copied from Mercedes ones last year. Mm-hmm. However, last year brake ducts were something you were allowed to purchase from other teams. Mm-hmm. So because they were using Mercedes brake ducts, they purchased it on the car last year, but they couldn't unpurchase it and unknow the knowledge for this year, so they still have them on the car this year. The issue was they weren't using Mercedes rear brake ducts last year, so they bought some from Mercedes and put it on this year's car.
Oh, okay.
Now, you could argue, and I believe Racing Point is going to appeal this ruling, as they have claimed that when they bought the brake ducts when they were still like an available part. They just didn't put them on their car.
Yeah.
So again, like, technically nothing of the car is illegal. But sporting regulations wise, it was ruled that they circumvented the rules and basically found a little loophole where they bought the parts the year before when they were a listed part, just because they didn't use them, they then put it on the car this year to use. And then you get into the argument of like it's not their intellectual property, they can't do that. But then again, how do you unlearn something that's already on the car? So
Yeah.
what should the punishment really be? It's definitely a hard thing because I think as much as they've made a very competitive car this year, it's not the best car. I think it's probably the third, fourth best car on the grid, depending on the day.
Yeah. For sure. Well, in qualifying, they've definitely had the pace to beat Red Bull. Sometimes it's come down to race day where they just haven't kept up as well.
Yeah, and I think it's when the ruling came out, a bunch of teams were looking like they wanted to, they were going to appeal, and basically say this punishment isn't severe enough.
Mm.
It was, I think it was Renault, Ferrari, Williams, and McLaren. I think it was what's his name? What's the McLaren CEO's name?
Zach Brown.
Zach Brown. For some reason, I was thinking Dan Brown. I don't know why. Zach Brown. He literally said it was BS. That what Racing Point was doing, and that they should be punished for it. However, it has come out that no, McLaren is pretty fine with the punishment, and they're not going to appeal.
Mm-hmm.
And Williams also, who is very much keen on keeping F1 as F1 should be, which is a purely constructors. They said they were going to appeal for a stronger punishment. They've also dropped their appeal.
Shocker.
So probably a little Mercedes backdoor shenanigans there.
Yeah, probably.
Considering both one uses Mercedes engines, one is going to be using Mercedes next year. So now you just have Ferrari and Renault, who are basically saying no, they need to be punished further.
Mm-hmm. Well, there wasn't any fines, right?
400,000 euros.
Oh wow.
I mean, like for Lawrence Stroll, it's like a day at the beach, but
For
no,
Mr. Moneybags.
they were fined and docked 7.5 points each from each car.
Okay, that's fair.
Now, say Ferrari does and Renault appeal for a stronger punishment. Would it be a dick move to dock 7.5 from Hülkenberg? Just be like, you know what, we'll throw an additional 7.5 for the third driver.
That would be a bit of a dick move. You've reached your point total. At that
And
point, put it to 5 points each.
Also-
Erase Hulk's one race and get it down to 1 point.
imagine by the end of the year they win by a 0.5 of a point. Like
It's
some
happened
driver
before.
over another.
It's happened before.
It would be fun. Would be a
It
fun.
would- It'd be great.
If, like comes down to like holding position for that extra 0.5 of a point.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a free tiebreaker.
And imagine it comes down to a fastest lap for that 1 point to swing it to the half point over.
That'd be actually pretty fun.
That would be hilarious. And the best way for it to end would be a last race of the season. They need the extra point, and the car behind them is the one that's challenging them. So let's say it's McLaren, and
They just both pit and exchange fastest laps.
well, I was gonna say the Racing Point that's leading pits for the fastest or for the set of tires, while the McLaren behind is roughly a pit stop back. So it's really, really risky in that sense. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, that'd be probably fun.
Chances are that won't happen, but
I mean,
have a ways to
nothing
go.
fun happens.
never.
Hmm.
Never ever.
But yeah, what are your overall thoughts on the Racing Point thing? Think it's an appropriate penalty? Do you think it's not? Do you think they should be punished more harsh?
I think until we have a concrete end to the story, it's a little bit hard to say. But I don't know. It's a weird spot.
Yeah.
to put it in, because if it's like you say, if it's previously purchased parts, you can't undo the knowledge.
Like, it seemed mostly to be like an unethical thing they did.
Yeah,
And
like, it's
like, I
not
think it was that it was like if they had come out and asked the FIA for clarification on what to do in this situation, it would have been like either said yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of tried to hide it and knew they were kind of flirting with a gray area of the rules.
Yeah.
So in that regard, they kind of were like, well, hopefully we don't get caught. If we do, so be it.
Are they still allowed to use the parts?
Yeah, the car is completely legal. The car is legal.
Okay.
Nothing on the car should be changed or has to be changed. But it's the way of gathering the knowledge for the car is what has deemed to be illegal in a very quick TLDR kind of way.
That's, I don't know. Like, if you're gonna, it's sort of like the Ferrari engine thing. If it's illegal, man, just make it fully illegal. Don't have it be this little little gray zone on your ruling when it's already a gray zone issue.
Like, especially after the Ferrari ruling in the off season, like.
Yeah, and the way that they not covered it up, but they tried to keep it very hush hush on what was explicitly illegal with the engine, right? So, and that's the I'm talking about the FIA ruling it, because originally when the first reports came out, and even like I think 2 weeks into it, it was sort of like we still didn't know it was just Ferrari did something with their engines to make it a little more powerful, and people speculated, but even the FIA wasn't going to say, oh yeah, they did this to their engines possibly.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't even allege, hey, here's what we're investigating.
Yeah.
So I don't know, if you're gonna, it's the Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec thing. Don't half-ass it, whole-ass it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Don't have 1 foot in illegal and 1 foot in legal.
Just make it fully illegal. Yeah. But that's F1's always existed in the gray areas.
Yeah.
That's where you get kind of fun drama shit.
Yeah. It's okay, that was clever. Don't do it.
Pretty much.
So, and now they at least have a precedence for anyone else who tries to do that, where they're like, okay, you already saw them try and do it. Why are you trying to do it? That's fully illegal.
And they've already said they're going to basically change the rules so that it's not illegal, or it's illegal going forward.
Okay, good. At least there's some clarification.
Yeah, they're going to close the loophole that basically Racing Point used.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So anything else F1 you want to talk about before we move on?
I guess the last big thing would be Bottas has signed a 1-year deal to stay on with Mercedes. Yes.
Oh shit! Right, he did. Yeah. That happened again right after we recorded last time. That really got kind of swept up. Like, no one really paid attention to that.
No.
Because it was like that happened, then the Racing Point thing happened, then the race happened.
Yeah. So, I guess he's sticking around as the Lewis's
rear gunner.
Sidekick. Yeah. Sidekick, rear gunner, whatever you want to say for the number 2 driver there. So,
I mean, would you turn that job down?
No, especially when you're still coming second or third or top 5 every single race.
Yeah,
hard. The only thing would be, like, I'm a little bit surprised they didn't bump up George, but I guess they also didn't really have a choice, because whatever Claire Williams said to keep him there for a year, to keep George at Williams for a year, he signed that deal first. So Mercedes
he did technically sign first. Yeah.
So and it might be, the regulations are staying the same. You may as well just stay in the same car for a year. That's fine. Who cares? Whatever. But
yeah,
it's still a little bit surprising at the same time.
I feel like you might see that this year. There's a lot of 1-year deals of guys staying put, and then next year it's going to be kind of all hell break loose.
Yeah.
As much as you're kind of seeing it right now with like the Ferrari, like what was it, Ricardo going to McLaren, Sainz going to Ferrari, Settle going to the bin. Typical F1 stuff.
Yep. So I don't know, but yeah, Bottas is going to be protecting Lewis for a little bit longer, it looks like. Well, I kind of want to see George up there. Get George.
I think George is Lewis's replacement.
that might be it. They don't want him to have a number 2 mindset, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way, like, I was a little bit surprised, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, you know what? They're racing under the same regulations. It's not like it's going to be a huge shake-up. But oh well, it is what it is. So I guess silly season next year will be a little more fun.
I think it's still kind of fun this year, but I guess we've already had our fun, and we're not really expecting, I feel, any other big moves to really happen.
Mm-hmm. Though we still don't know who's going to be racing for Racing Point.
That is kind of like the last domino to fall, it seems.
Yep.
And if like Kimmy wants to keep doing his hobby.
Yeah. It's just a hobby, so I'll do it as long as I want until I get bored or something.
That's not a terrible Kimmy. It's not a good one either.
Well, I mean, it's a half-assed one, just like...
You already said, do not half-ass. God damn it.
Low effort.
Go get me the real Kimmy right now.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Whole ass it.
Anywho. But the whole ass it, you gotta half-ass it, because that's, like, he just doesn't care about anything. He just
God damn it, man.
I drive car and
You're still gonna go with this bit?
Yes.
Okay.
Give me somebody tell him to give me the wheel. Give it to me.
Now you need way more anger.
Yeah.
But don't do it right now, please.
Fine.
We want people to listen.
I'll work on it.
What's next? What's next on the schedule today?
I don't know. Which one do you want to cover? We're hitting multiple series today, so.
You get first pick this time.
No, we'll do some Formula E.
Formula E.
Yeah. Because they actually had so they finally came back this week. They've done 5 rounds so far of their attempt to finish out the season, which is, let's race multiple times at the same track, which hasn't been horrible, actually. I was a little worried, and we did get a quick result to the championship finish with Felix da Costa taking 2 of the first 2 races, and also taking if you are unfamiliar with Formula E, it's a similar scoring for where you finish, with 25 points down to 1 from 1 to 10, but there's also the fastest lap, same amount, 1 point for fastest lap, but you also get 3 points for finishing on pole. The first race, da Costa had 30 points, which is the win, the top or fastest lap, and the pole. And I think then if you get both, it's a bonus point, which gets him up to 30. And then he had 28 the next race. So he sort of dominated and was just so far ahead that it was like, everyone else is mathematically eliminated. So he was your Formula E champion by the end of round 9, with a second place finish in round 9, and that put him over the top.
I mean, like, that's better than like 3 races to go. Hamilton wins, so
yeah. Oh, and here's the thing as well. If this is all being done at the same track, so if this is just a track that da Costa likes and succeeds at, and other people, like his closest competition, just happens to struggle with, can't do much about that.
Yeah.
Right. So, but yeah, it was also just him. When he didn't win, he was still the second guy to cross the line. So I think his closest competition, who was it? It was it Buemi or Van Dorn? Yeah, Van Dorn struggled a little bit in the first race. He finished, or in the second race, he finished 5th. First race, he wasn't. He was down in 6th, so it wasn't like he was still in top 10. But when the guy you're chasing is finishing first and getting pole and fastest lap, that's a tough one to chase down.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with da Costa being that dominant and winning. Like a championship performance is a championship performance, whether it happens on the very last race between one guy versus another, or one guy over an entire season, just being consistent.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, it's all at the same track. If it's just a track he likes, he's gonna have the advantage. And I think he does like this track, considering he was first and first and second, or sorry, and fourth, and then second.
Really changing it up there.
Yeah. And the race they had today, which was round 10 of 12, I think he was out in an incident, but he's already, because he was so consistent in the first 4 races, didn't really matter. He's already won it. So hats off to him. Just a very dominant return.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes you need that.
Yep. And who else won? We had Max Gunther win one of the races, and Oliver Rowland won today, and Jean-Eric Verne has also won a race. So you know, there has been a mix after DaCosta won. It's not like, again, it's him winning the championship was more him being consistently good versus just outright having a better car and
that's what I like about the Formula E championship, where still there's many question marks on who can win a race, but who can win a championship usually comes down to a handful of drivers who are just consistent over an entire season. Like, kind of similar with like IndyCar. IndyCar, in theory, anyone can win a race. It's all really spec equipment, but it all comes down to like the teams and the drivers, and really there's like a handful of people who are like,
realistically it's going to be Scott Dixon this year, for example.
I mean, obviously, who else would it be?
Yeah. So, but yeah, and you know what? It's been some good racing as well. I haven't been able to see everything, but it's been, like, from the highlights I've seen, it was really good. Actually, you know what we had today in today's Super Pole qualifying? Actually, no, it was the first round. So in the in Formula E, they have 2 sets of qualifying. They have the qualification, and then like a top 6 shootout, sort of similar to IndyCar.
Okay.
Where they have their top 9 shootout for the Indy 500.
Yep.
And they actually repeated what happened at Monza last year, where 4 of the guys were jockeying for position on their on their qualification lap, and 4 of them didn't cross the line, including Felix DaCosta.
Oof. See, okay, if you're DaCosta at that point, why would you do that?
I don't know.
Like, just go out. You don't give a shit. You've won.
Yep. But
that's just embarrassing. But it makes for a good viral video.
Yeah, it was funny. They were watching them all squabble and nearly run each other into the wall.
Oh my god.
Because again, it's all like everything that they do is street circuits, so there's wall.
Yeah.
It's very tight a very tight track.
And I think, like we said this before, with COVID this year, it's very difficult to perform races on street circuits because they involve a lot of kind of setup work and closing down certain areas. I'm rather impressed Formula E did this so smoothly over, I would say, a bit more than a weekend.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. They basically closed it down for a week. We've got 2 more races to go, and they are, I believe there's a break today, and then back-to-back races on the Friday and the Saturday. So they've closed it down for essentially a week for the actual a week for the actual races, and then they probably closed it down a week before to set everything up.
That's not terrible.
Yeah, so 2 weeks of shutdown.
And for everyone who, I guess, put those tracks together and actually built them, good on you.
Bravo, indeed.
Like, way to go.
Yep. So, yeah, if you don't watch Formula E, watch. It's a lot of fun, and it's usually, here's the best part, it's free on YouTube. They stream it, unlike some other places.
You sound bitter.
Not bitter, just...
Though I do,
Especially now, get your product out there.
I do miss watching streams of like practice on YouTube. That was always nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, FormulaE, great finish.
Yeah,
Still
good.
waiting for BMW and Andretti to come out with their merchandise too. That's the other. That's what I'm bitter about with FormulaE.
Just because you work for the team or work for the company that sponsors them, doesn't mean you have to be like such a fanboy.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Okay, so that's your FormulaE corner.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Start with some NASCAR news.
NASCAR. Yeah, and this another signing right
Okay,
after we
for
finished
fuck's
recording.
sakes. Like literally, that's what I was talking about earlier. It was literally an hour after I was done. I had to hit upload and like an hour.
And I think it was really funny because we when we did our little NASCAR bit during that show, it was like, where's Keselowski gonna? Hey, Keselowski doesn't have a contract. Where's he gonna sign? 1 hour later,
Like we
Brad
literally.
Keselowski has signed.
That
Has
was
re-signed his
so
deal.
annoying.
Like you,
So we literally talked about him not having a contract, and little did we know he was signing it right then.
yeah.
Damn it. Anyway,
It's a curse.
yeah, but he stays on with Penske, which
Good choice.
pretty sure we said after he won, like, yeah, that's gonna help the contract, and definitely got there. Say, quick thing, I guess, for the what was it, the Michigan races? Basically, Harvick dominated them. I would say dominated. Harvick won, but it was the second Michigan race. Some good fun with towards the end. It was a good chase between Harvick and Hamlin.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and the Penske's took each other out of that race. So,
oh, brilliant.
yeah, which was and they were running like 1-2. So genius. Yeah, I think it was it Blaney and Keselowski got together?
Yeah, I think I remember seeing the 12 in it. So
yeah, I think it was Blaney and Keselowski got together, and took themselves out of that race and basically handed it to Harvick.
What are you gonna do?
But it was a good finish. I like Michigan. It's probably one of my favorite tracks. First actual race I ever went to was Michigan.
Oh really?
Yeah, like NASCAR race.
Okay.
Yeah, fun fact.
That nobody asked about.
You know what? Let me just share about me that no one cares about. It's not like it's one of my, password protection questions or anything.
Sorry, what's your mother's maiden name?
Go fuck yourself.
That's an interesting name. Where's that from?
I think it's German.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, something like that. Then we got some other, I guess, signing news. Actually, we got a couple signing news, I guess, for NASCAR, because I guess NASCAR silly season's finally kicking off. So, I would say first one, what was it? Bell signed with Joe Gibbs.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was announced. I want to say Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember.
Well, and Bell's done. He's a younger driver too, right? So
I think he
for
is. I
him to-
don't know, like mid-20s.
Yeah, but he hasn't. It's not like he's been around.
Christopher Bell.
It's not like he's been around the series for a long time, right? Like he did his time in Xfinity for
Yeah,
a bit.
he's 25. Yeah,
So he's our age.
yeah.
Yeah, so, good for him.
He's definitely done his time, I feel, and why was he with? He was with Levine this year, and I think he's done pretty decent.
Yeah.
Is it Levine or Levine? I don't actually know.
Yes.
But yeah, he's done well, and I think he deserves a shot at Joe Gibbs.
Yeah. Well, it's exactly like every single time. You're either gonna perform or you're gonna be a Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, and I mean, like he has a relationship with them, kind of like through. I think he's racing for them in is it the Truck Series? So
there was a pre-existing relationship.
yeah,
Well, in that case, it all makes sense.
yeah. Apparently not to Eric Jones. He seemed he apparently was a little unhappy with it.
And why would that be?
He thought he was making good contract talk, and thought he might have that seat, but apparently
Hard no.
he's really not been having a good season though.
Yeah, well, if you're struggling, even if it is a bit of a weird season, still everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah. Well, okay. Last time, who did we talk about of having a bad season? Kyle Busch?
Yeah.
Kyle Busch. We were talking about Kyle Busch, how he was not the best season, right?
For his standards, no.
No. But also, same team, though, right? With Eric Jones. He's teammates with Kyle Busch.
Yep.
And Eric Jones is out of the playoffs right now for Joe Gibbs.
That's a little rough.
Christopher Bell is also out of the playoffs.
But for a lower team.
Yeah, and he's less than 100 points behind Jones. So,
Gotta show up.
yeah.
So.
Also, where is it? Also, outside of the playoffs, as of right now, looking in, Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah. Well, he also missed a week, which doesn't help, but still, he's been not meh, but it's not quite the exit tour he probably imagined.
No, you're right.
So, I mean, the fact that there's no fans is all like a big part of that as well.
Mm-hmm. Also, the fact that Johnson missed a week and it's just like one good week, he's back in the playoffs basically.
Okay, so he's not completely
No,
out of
he
it.
isn't. He's like,
but it's like Kyle Busch.
He's like 50. He's like 57 points out, which really
like Kyle
in
Busch
NASCAR points is nothing.
Yeah, and it's like Kyle Busch. Is it like the worst season he's ever had, or worst season ever in terms of points? No. Is it below maybe what you expect? Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
and that might be where the disappointment comes from.
No, that's very true.
Because he probably shouldn't be fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But how many races do we have left on the schedule? There's like what, 5 or 6 races left.
It's hard to say.
Playoffs?
Because, like, who knows what's going to happen, really, with the Ronas. So,
yeah.
By the schedule, I think it says, I think the schedule has a, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4 left, basically, by the schedule. But
okay,
it's hard to really know if those are going to happen. What's going to happen in the playoffs? We can hope we get all the races in. But
okay,
this week should be a fun race, by the way.
That's what I was gonna say. As long as we're getting this race in, that's all I care about. I want to see them on the Daytona road course, which, by the way, Kevin Harvick took pole for.
I mean, what did he get the draw for it?
No,
yeah, it's hard to say because there's no qualifying, no practice, right?
Yeah. This is after crunching the numbers, he will lead the flag to green. So I have no idea what they mean by crunching numbers. Oh, Harvick finished first in the last race, which is 1 times 0.05. His first in owner points time, which is 1 point times 0.35.
Yeah, so basically now instead of being a blind draw, it's like based on points and stuff and how you finished and
bunch of random math. And I'm not a math guy.
You should be the math guy.
Yeah, money math, not this random weighting math.
Fair enough.
So this is just hey, how much weight do we want to put on the last race? I don't know, 0.5. Okay, what other crap do we want to throw in here? I don't know. Where's he sitting in the standings? First? Okay, well, okay, sure, we'll assign that a value. And what's the last one here? Oh, yeah, let's just throw in a fastest lap too.
That's a really weird one.
Yeah, none of the other races matter. I don't care. So, it's a little weird, but whatever. However they want to decide it, they can choose how they want to do it. But yeah, Kevin Harvick will lead the field to green on Sunday, and I will hopefully be watching that.
Yeah, I think it should be good.
until it gets rained out, because that always happens.
Yeah,
Then
that's
the race
fair.
will start at then the race will start at 11.
Though, if it did rain, even if it's a little bit of rain, that'd be so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you see, they're not running the actual like road course like the sports cars race on. They added an extra chicane.
Yeah, which, sure, fun. Go
Yeah.
for it. No one knows what's going on at this course anyways, so
Unless you're Alex LeBay.
yeah.
Throwback to last episode.
And his 7 laps of data.
Hey, more than anyone else.
Yep. Well, hang on. When he did that, did they have that extra chicane?
No, I don't think they did.
Yeah, so I guess he gets a little bit other than that. just watch on the first lap, he just blows through it. Oh yeah, right. I forgot I'm not supposed to do that.
That wasn't there when I was here the other day.
I mean,
Who
don't really have an excuse for that.
who
There's,
put
there's
that
pictures
there?
of me there. Yeah.
No, that wasn't Alex LeBay. That was Lix Abe.
That sounds weird.
Yeah, that did not
Try
come
it.
out well.
Go back to the drawing board. Come back next week with something better.
You know what? Fine. Moving on.
What are we gonna finish off with this week?
I think
Or
we
no,
should
hang on.
we should go with some Bubba Wallace news, because he also
Okay.
signed,
A big deal with Columbia.
and also
Right.
with RPM.
Oh, right, that too.
Oh yeah.
That minor part.
Oh yeah, just guaranteeing him a seat, kind of.
Yeah, minor stuff.
Yeah, exactly, minor. But yeah, signed a big deal with Columbia, and also part of that also involved getting a good deal and renewed contract with Richard Petty.
Well, I think
So-
it helps that Columbia, I think, is also going to be a big sponsor for RPM.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't hurt that he's bringing in money not only for himself but also for the team.
Yeah.
So good for Bubba.
No, I think so. He's definitely had a good year in terms of, I guess, making a name for himself and kind of getting himself out there.
Yep.
Definitely had a lot of sponsor activity around him.
Yep.
And you know what? Gets a good deal out of it, then so be it.
Yeah, well deserved. I still want to see him have some better on track results, but the extra money should help RPM also get him
Yeah.
a slightly better car for next year. So we'll see.
No, agreed. And I think it's definitely a win-win for him, and I think it's a win for RPM as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get some extra revenue, you get a good driver who I think many people are. I would say some people are becoming a fan of, some people are not. Though I doubt it's because of his on-track actions that are driving them away from him.
Yeah,
That's
he's
none
a
of my
little,
business.
Little,
Sips
little bit
beer.
of little bit of decisive character for some, but
For some,
for
though
some,
I really don't think he should be.
no.
But
We-
yeah, so I think good for Bubba.
If you don't know what we're talking about, check out some of our older episodes where we have multiple.
If you don't know
breakdowns.
what we're talking about, just look at Bubba Wallace or search his name on Twitter and see what people say,
Yeah,
and then proceed to ignore those people because they are assholes.
yeah,
Unless it's saying good stuff, then okay, they're probably nice.
yes,
But generally, it's racist. No beating around the bush there.
no.
Anyway, finish
else
off
we got?
finish off with some IndyCar stuff, because we are now getting closer to the Indy 500.
And we had
Which
practice
feel-
today.
Yeah, they finally got to the oval today, which it feels like it's been fucking forever since they've been on track.
We're finally kicking off the month of May. Wait, checks notes, scribbles out May, August,
Close enough.
but only partially because we're not doing the road race, but we did the road race already, and we're gonna do 2 more later on.
But we'll get back to it. Yay!
Yes.
It's, it's the Indy 500 month-ish.
Yeah.
Weeks. So yeah,
I can't wait.
it is nice to see the cars back on track, though.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the aero screen has been getting a lot of good stuff said about it. Fernando Alonso did laps, so there was that.
He was 5th fastest.
He
in
was
practice
5th
today,
fastest.
which was surprising. But you know who was first?
Who was first?
Hinch.
Fucking fanboy.
Oh, as if you aren't.
No, because he's not even a full-time driver. And
Yeah,
I
every
will
single
still
time.
say I think I'm a bigger fanboy of Scott Dixon though than Hinch.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey,
you
Hinch
gotta
looks
love
really good
the
today. Oh,
Canadian.
I got a picture with Hinch. Do you have a picture with Hinch? No, I don't, because I was working
That's when
that
you didn't
day.
show up when you know.
I'm sorry, some of us have to work.
This was like how many years ago? Like 4 years ago. Book it off.
No, couldn't really do that at the time.
Nah, sounds like a you problem. Anyway, okay, back to your fanboyness of Hinch. Yeah, he was first. He was first today in practice. But a miracle happened. Marco was second fastest. What?
Marco doing stuff?
Marco being fast? Question mark. Was his Uber on the track somewhere?
Yeah. This is the latest 2020 curveball that we're getting.
Holy fuck! Could you imagine if Marco wins the 500 in 2020? Oh my god,
That would actually be hilarious.
that would just make 2020 like the most weirdest year ever.
Yep. It would actually be hilarious.
You know what?
if
No,
did
he pulls a Weldon and Hildebrand, and he crashes in the last corner leading, but makes it to the line.
Oh god.
That'd be the most 2020 way the Indy 500 could end.
Or he pulls a Rossi and just runs out of gas.
Nah, that's already happened. That's old news.
Well, the Weldon thing's already happened. What's your point?
No, because that was Hildebrand crashing, Weldon winning. This would be the equivalent of Hildebrand crashing and Hildebrand still winning.
Okay.
If he makes it there before he gets past.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Either way, it's a long shot to happen. So, but based off today, let's slide $5 on Marco maybe.
Preliminary running, but right now looks like Honda's be fast.
Yeah, shocker.
Yeah, I think what was it 4 of the top 5 are Hondas?
Yep.
They do have a row of Hondas between like 9 and 13, or a row of Chevys.
Yeah. Either way, Honda being fastest, put that under things I did not see coming.
I mean, hasn't Chevy been the dominant engine the last few years at Indy?
Typically, yes.
So it's one day of testing, or one day of practice. Like we are blowing this way out of proportion.
Overanalyze everything.
However, what we can say is that Hinch was fastest, Marco second, Dixon third. Dixon wins. Confirmed. Call it now.
Bold take.
Not the worst take. A worst take would be saying I don't know, Dixon's gonna retire soon.
It's still possible.
Yeah, fuck off with that take. Did you see Chilton's helmet for the 500?
Yes, he did the.
He has the Borg Warner wrap, basically.
Yeah, that was cool to see.
It honestly looks 3D.
Yeah,
it is so well done. I just want to touch it. If anyone hasn't seen Chilton's helmet, look up Max Chilton's Indy 500 helmet. It is a piece of art. Literally, this helmet should be framed and put into the museum after the race. It looks amazing.
Yeah, no, 100%. Very well done indeed.
I would love to see him win just for that helmet.
Just for the helmet, and then next year he does it again, but he puts his face on it.
Could you imagine the balls?
It goes. His face goes on the very top, and it's blown up, so you can see that it's his face.
Though one thing I respect about the helmet, it even has his competitors faces on it.
Mm-hmm. It's truly just an ode to history.
Yeah, like on the side of it, it's got like Franchitti. It has Rossi on it, Montoya on it. Just trying to take a look at the other side here. The picture's a little glared, so it's kind of hard to look at.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
But yeah, I think it's great. I absolutely love it, and it's something you don't see often, and I think that's why I think it stands out so much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so there's that, and so I guess speaking of 500, we know everyone that's entered, and there is going to be no risk of a bump day this time.
So Fernando can't get bumped out right away.
Right away doesn't mean he fails to start.
And Hinch can't
Squeak his way
have a
in.
mechanical failure on his second last outing, which turned out to be his last outing.
So one thing I remember seeing is that you are going to see, I think, with hotter temperatures this year in like August, where like for qualifying, and I think it was with the extra boost to the engines and the aeroscreen, you could see potentially lap records fall at Indy.
Really?
Now, take away the chance of not making the show, you may see guys really giving it in qualifying. No fear if they wreck it or not.
Yep. Checkers or wreckers.
100%. So
Do it.
you may see some bad hits in qualifying. That is entirely a possibility. Hopefully nothing like Bourdais from, 2013 was it? No, 2015. 16?
Yes.
One of those years. Recently. Yeah, Hinch was 2015, so I think Bourdais was
a
16.
year later,
Yeah.
2016.
So you may, I hope you don't see that, but you may see definitely some balls to the wall driving and qualifying this year for the 500.
Mm-hmm. I'm down for it.
That'll be interesting for sure.
Bring it on. Bring it on. I'm ready for it. Yeah, so we know the field. We know it's 33 entries. And who was entry number 33? James Davison.
Squeaked his way in there.
Second run. Yeah. Not Davidson, as I think it was NASCAR tried to call him. Davison. He got a seat with Rick Ware Racing at the very last second. Like it was that. I think that was another piece of news that came out just after we hit the stop recording button.
Yeah, I think it was again last week.
So, yeah, good for James. He's like
the
the one
journeyman.
race. Yeah, and this is like the one race he does every year.
I think he does a couple more. But yeah, he generally has been trying to do like Indy 500 for most years.
Mm-hmm. And
Like,
hopefully
yeah,
he
he's
does
been
well.
doing it since
see.
2014.
Okay.
So
Glad he can continue his 6-year streak then.
he was 12th last year, really.
Yeah.
Didn't realize.
He does okay. I mean, anytime you're racing on an oval, it can be a bit of a crapshoot.
I like how you said he does okay, and my mind just went to like, oh wait, no, never mind.
What?
I was thinking about the time Dixon launched over Jay Howard. For some reason, I thought it was Davison for a second. No, didn't
Gotcha.
Davison take out Sato
When? Last
2 years ago?
2 years ago?
Yeah, I thought I got into the wall and took out Sato.
Perhaps.
Yeah, because Sato was the previous winner. Yeah. So that
I
happened.
don't remember.
Yeah, he's done great.
That's okay. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. When it comes to ovals, it's usually a bit of a crapshoot, right? So,
yeah.
One thing that came out sadly though is that this might be Fernando's last chance to win the Triple Crown, at least for a little bit, because
Yeah, he said he's at least going to be gone for 2 years.
while he's racing for Renault.
Yeah. So
So we'll We'll see what happens.
I would like to see it happen.
The fifth fastest in practice. That's promising.
I mean, the McLarens have looked competitive this year, so, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
I hope he does well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I would love to see him win a Triple Crown. I was a little disappointed to see that he's not going to even attempt it or get an attempt on the next 2 years, because he's also getting up there in age. Could call it.
No, that is true.
No point in risking anything when, well, I mean, depends on him, because getting that Triple Crown would, for me personally, would be 100% worth the risk. But if you're not gonna do it for the next 2 years, coming back 2 years later and 3 years since your last one might be a tough time.
Guys have done weird things. The 500 is a weird race and track like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but
it'll be interesting to see what he does.
Either way, we had cars on track at the Indy 500, and I'm ready for it.
Well, you mean at least on Indianapolis Motor Speedway, not the 500?
Oh, whatever. The Indy 500 cargo fast me ready for.
Fair enough.
English no goodly.
Yeah, I'm surprised we got through this far.
Exactly. So, anything else for this week?
Yeah, I think that's all.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess thank you for listening to this episode of Spare Parts. If this is your first time listening, because we're on YouTube now, you can find our older episodes down below. And also you can give us your thoughts on things we discussed this time. And thank you, and we'll be back next week.
Thanks for listening to Spare Parts. Remember to follow the show on Twitter @SparePartsPod and follow our hosts @Sean Cavarella and @Stephen Clary.